Auschwitz, a word that evokes terrifying images of unthinkable acts of violence committed against innocent Jewish people by Hitler and his Nazi army. Frank Grunwald's youthful memories of the cattle rail car that transported he and his family to Auschwitz, along with the time that they were held prisoners there, reflect on those deprived living conditions that were endured by all the interred Jews, along with one bright spot in the form of a woman whose friendship forever impacted the young boy's life. Is it hard to even get up and move off this cattle car because you've got to be pretty stiff and sore?
It's a frightening experience. It's a sort of an eerie experience because we arrive at fairly late at night, pitch dark night with fairly cold, dry, cold weather. And you have these bright, high-intensity lamps over the platform, over the arrival platform. And then you hear the shouting of the guards and the barking of the German Shepherd dogs. And it's a very eerie, threatening experience, and I can still hear the barking of the dogs and the shouting of the guards as they roll open these big doors on the cattle car, and the guards are shouting, "Heraus, heraus, get out, get out," and you hear the barking of the dogs behind their voices. We drop our suitcases on a big pile, which we never see again, and we get loaded up on trucks and taken into the main camp. And of course the main camp you can't see because it's totally dark, pitch black, and all you see is a bunch of barbed wire fences, again illuminated with high intensity lamps over the barbed wire. So we don't know where we are, and we don't know what the size of the camp is, and we have no way of really orienting ourselves until we talk to the other Czech Jewish people in that same camp where we ended up, that came there in September. So we have a September transport of 5,000 roughly, and a December transport, which is us. And we find out from them that we are in Auschwitz. So it's Auschwitz-Birkenau. Birkenau was a village near there also. When the camp expanded, Birkenau was the new section of Auschwitz.
Did you know the meaning of Auschwitz as we know it today?
I had no clue.
Are you separated into boys and girls again?
Yeah, we are separated into male-female. I end up with my father and brother in a male barrack. My mother is in the female segment, but it's accessible. We are in the same basic camp, except it's split into male and female.
And you're allowed to visit or
We are allowed to visit, yes. The next day we go through the showers and we have get our haircuts, and we get tattooed. We get our number.
Did you know that was coming?
No, I had no idea what was coming.
So what do they say to you when they do the tattoo?
They don't say anything.
Just
you just get tattooed. You're getting tattooed by one of the prisoners, and you're getting basically he's got a listing of numbers, and he connects you with he gives you a number, and he records that. So everybody's number is logged. And then, of course, then we are put on a real starvation diet, on about a 600 or 700 calorie a day diet, which is a killer.
Was that because they wanted you to die, or because they didn't have the food?
They probably figured it's satisfactory. It's enough for someone to survive.
So how long are you at Auschwitz?
I'm there all of 44.
Okay.
Till January of
45. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming when you're somewhere that reasonable length of time, there starts to become a life pattern, a daily pattern of
definitely.
So what was your life pattern like?
After the second day, I wanted to go and see my mother. So I got off my bunk and started walking out, and walked into the female section of the camp and found her in one of the barracks.
Was it hard to find? I mean, thousands
Somebody
and thousands.
told me where she was. I spoke to a few people, and they directed me to her. And then I spent maybe an hour or two with her, talking to her and sitting, having some real precious time with her. And
What did you talk about? Do you remember?
I have no idea.
But it just like were you and Mom? It sounds like you and your mother were very close. Like,
yeah, I don't know, really don't know what we were talking about, but I know one thing: we're not complaining.
I hear that.
I learned it from her. So then I start walking out of her barrack, and as I almost exit her barrack, I notice that there are two rooms at the end of the barrack, one on the left and one on the right, and I notice a young woman painting, looks like she's painting a picture.
Wow.
And
For you?
in one of the rooms, yeah, and of course that gets my attention
I
because
bet.
I was so interested in art. I thought, God, is this possible? Is there an artist here that's allowed to paint a picture? And I'm looking at her through this little window, and she goes like this, like, come on in.
Did you hesitate at all?
No. I opened the door and I walked in, I introduced myself, and she introduced herself, and she was so friendly and just wonderful.
What was her name?
Dina. Dina Gottlieb.
And what nationality was she?
Czech. And she came in the September transport. She came with the 5,000 prisoners from Terezin in September. So she's been around for a while. She knew the ropes. And the bottom line was that we really became good friends. And whenever I visited my mother, I would spend several hours with my mother, and I would spend at least an hour or more in the morning with Dina. After a day or so, I would eventually stoke the fire in her little room. There was a little potbelly stove. And I would just sit there and we would talk and she would paint. And very often a German soldier would come in and he would smoke a cigarette and talk to her in German and watch her paint.
So how had she evolved to this special room with heat and paint?
The SS found out that she was an artist when she came to Auschwitz. There was a children's barrack, and she painted a huge mural on one of the walls of the barrack, and it was the Seven Dwarfs, and from the movie from Disney, and she painted all that, and apparently some German guard SS guy walked in and saw it and said, "Who did this?" And they told him who it was, and apparently he told Dr. Mengele, the famous physician, one of the physicians in Auschwitz. And Mengele interviewed her, decided that he's going to make her document and make portraits of some of the gypsies that he was going to kill. Of course, the Nazis considered the gypsies to be an inferior race, so they were gassing the gypsies.
So why did he want to document people?
He wanted to document them. Somehow he was interested in their facial appearance, their physiognomy, their coloring, their eye colors. And at that time, color photography was in its infancy. He had no confidence in color photography. I'm not even sure that color film was available to him at that time, good color film.
Right.
So he felt that Dina could do a better job with her super realistic watercolors. And that's what she did. That's what she did when I first met her. She was painting portraits of gypsies.
Did she ever share her paints and paper with you? Did she ever allow you to paint?
No, I never touched any of that work. She did paint a portrait of me, though, which was eventually lost. It was never found. On the second or third day, she said to me, "Would you be interested if I introduced you to my boyfriend, Willy Brachman?"